The persuasion part of advertising is going to be the same 100 years from now, because the man with talent will be able to persuade, and the man without talent won't, no matter how much knowledge you bring to him, no matter what mechanical devices you have. But I've got to tell you that those new inventions aren't going to create a great new idea. And I keep telling that to our people. That little thing, sitting by yourself and getting an idea, is far more important than all the technology in the world. All I want is the talent. And fortunately, being in the creative end of the business myself, I think I can spot the talent. But it's the talent that you cannot teach. I can teach advertising. And if you do things the way they were always done, you're not going to be very effective, because the essence of impact is saying things the way they were never said before. Undisciplined talent can be more destructive than the absence of talent, because you can go in the wrong direction with greater speed if you're very talented, and therefore reach the destructive shores faster. But given the proper talent, you get to where you want to go much faster. Now, giving the art director with the talent that kind of discipline and that kind of backing and that kind of guidance is of tremendous value, not only to the agency and to the client, but to the art director himself, because then what he does is useful to himself, because it's useful to the people who are paying him. The writer is concerned with what he puts into his writing. The communicator is concerned not just with what he puts into a piece of writing, but with what the reader gets out of it. He therefore becomes a student of how people read and how they listen. He learns that most readers come away from their reading not with a clear, precise, detailed registration of its contents on their minds, but rather with a vague, misty idea which was formed as much by the pace and the proportions and the music of the writing as by the literal words themselves. And he learns that the reader reads with his ego, his emotions, with his compulsions, his prejudices, his urges, and his aspirations, and that he plots with his brain to rationalize the facts until they become the tools of his desire. The real basis for persuasion is to understand what motivates a man. The human being is created by nature, really, and there are certain instincts we have which really dominate. And unless we understand that, if we proceed purely on an intellectual basis, we're not going to get very far. You don't persuade people through the intellect. You do it through the passions. Now, it's up to the man who's doing the persuading to tap those passions for good moral purposes. Perhaps the most important aspect of advertising is how you say what has to be said, because by and large, we can find out what to say. I am a very, very firm believer in research. But you owe a responsibility to research. After research helps you find out what to say, you owe it to research to say it in a fresh and new way. The average person doesn't come to many decisions purely on an intellectual basis. He must be touched. He is confronted every day by appeals, by people trying to sell him things. And unless you reach him, this becomes a wall. He's just oblivious to most things because he's numb from the thousands of messages that are being shot at him. And the only way you're going to reach him is through some kind of personal thing that hits him personally. The mind is by and large used to fulfill what the instincts want. So unless you get down deep into those instincts and into their compulsions and into their aspirations, into their desire to be admired, which is another one, you're not by and large going to touch people, and you will never do that intellectually because you don't touch those instincts intellectually. I have seen campaign after campaign fail where it was the most irrefutable logic behind it. And I've seen great campaigns make it because they knew how to relate things to the way you feel and to what you feel personally about life.